Adam, let's kick things off here in Ohio.
So as we know, right nearby in Indiana is where the NFL Draft Combine with all the top college football prospects is going on this week. And the news is related to college football and also college basketball because we start with Ohio, where the Casino Control Commission has granted the NCAA's request to ban player props for collegiate athletes. Now, in case you're not clear about what we're talking about, we're essentially saying you can bet on individual college athletes and their performance. Will a college basketball player have over or under a certain amount of points? Will a college football player have over or under a certain amount of yards? There's always been, in the last 6 years, question and concern around prop betting with college athletes because of the potential for there to be nefarious actors and someone getting to a college athlete and saying, hey, it might be worth it for you to go down a little quickly, go out of bounds a little quickly, be a little short on a jump shot, et cetera, when it comes to your individual performance, and they might be in some way either compensated or scared into performing in a way that would benefit someone betting on them with college props. Now, we understand as people who have been inside this space for a while, Matt, that generally the limits on college props are not the sort of limits that would lead to major money moving through a market. That being
and honestly,
said,
the NIL stuff helps too, right? Because like any star athlete that might be able to actually control an outcome of a game or whatever, or even like you're saying from a player prop perspective, like it doesn't behoove Caleb Williams to not go throw for 300 or because like the guy's making $8 million, from his NIL deal. So NIL helps a little bit too.
It does, and when you look at the way certain NIL deals work, it's not just about the top athletes, right? And that's not where the concern would be. There's no one out there worried that Caitlin Clark is going to stop shooting from the logo and do something that would go against what is in her best interest. Yeah. We're talking about people who are the fifth, the sixth, the seventh players on those teams who, in a lot of these situations with NIL, are being taken care of. If they get a program gets a deal with a car dealership, well, we've seen college basketball teams, all of them get a car, right? And so they're covered. You don't have to worry about $1,000 or $2,000 influencing a lot of them. But what's interesting about this story, Matt, is that it is about the NCAA having a request granted at the state level and what sort of momentum that could build. Now, every one of these state gaming regulators has some mechanism built in for a sports organization or another governing body to come to them and say, we would like you to consider banning this market. It doesn't happen a lot, but this is the one that has always felt like it is ripe with possibility to do. And make your own decision as to whether you think it's a good idea or a bad idea. That's not really what I'm here to talk to you about. I'm here to talk to you about the idea that it could lead to more, right? The NCAA could see the ways in which it was successful doing this sort of thing and be able to make more headway in terms of banning other markets. We've seen in-state college bans in some states. We've seen some states that don't allow betting on college tournaments in certain states. It's something that goes a little bit I don't want to say far and wide, but it is definitely different strokes for different folks in different places. And the next frontier here, Matt, and it's getting a little more attention this year than it did last, is betting on the draft combine. Betting on what someone's vertical leap will be, what someone's 40 time will be, what someone's bench press reps will be. Now, this is one that's getting different treatment from different regulators, right? We've seen the regulators that are in tighter states, and I would include New Jersey, I would include Michigan, I would include New York. Those who pay pretty close attention to these things are not allowing betting on the combine. Those whose rules are a little bit more permissive, those states have had markets offered by DraftKings, by FanDuel, by some others on the combine, which kind of gets into the same area that we're talking about here, Matt, even though we know that at the combine, many of these guys feel like they have their draft prospects on the line based on how they perform in this situation. But again, it's still the same thing about betting on the individual performance of a college athlete.
It is. And, listen, I'm actually people are going to be shocked to hear me say this, but look, books want to put up as many as many markets as humanly possible. We know that, right? That's why when you go in and you click on any given tab, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of different bets that you can make for a slate of games that day. That being said, the handle you get on college props is literally a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. And if that becomes a thing that is like a somewhat sticking point, I'd be fine if they went away with it. On the flip side, it's kind of like the deal we're saying but the in-state college ban, like I think that is ridiculous, right? Because now we are encouraging people who want to, the most likely casual bettor, Adam, as you well know, wants to bet on the home team, and the most casual bettor, then you're actually forcing them either to a bookie or offshore or whatever it is or something like that. So I think that one should be looked at and reversed. And like this one, if it came a thing where college props got axed, I mean, would the books love it? Not really, but it's not really going to hurt the bottom line. There's not really any handle that's bet into these things, and so I don't really care one way or the other with all of it. From the combine stuff, the thing that you point out is the biggest one here, which is it's not even necessarily that these guys aren't going to try to get to a certain number. It's just there is a finite number that a lot of these guys can reach, right? And so that will be known by a trainer, a coach, an agent, or whatever, and all that heading into this deal, which does make this a slippery slope. Like, they're not going to do less bench reps because, again, like you said, that could affect them millions of dollars down the line. But a strength coach knows how many bench reps the dude can do, right? I mean, like, so there is a number that is just known beforehand, where if they set the over-under at whatever, 24 and a half reps of the 225, like, a strength coach knows whether that dude can do 25 reps or not. I mean, like, that's just all there is to it. I mean, this is like honed in. These guys train for this for months leading into it. And so that's where the slippery slope comes in to me, right? Which is like, no, I don't think any of them are gonna like do worse, because again, it doesn't behoove them to do worse. It's just some of the stuff is known. Like there's just a finite number. They know how many bench reps they can do. They know how high they can jump. They know within a tenth or two of a second of what their 40 time is going to be. So like all this stuff is just known beforehand.
And let's go real in the weeds with this, Matt. All right. If someone's 40 time is set on a market at 4.35, right? There's a major difference if you clock 4.4 versus 4.3 when it comes to your draft status, right? But when we talk about other things like bench press, let's say, like you said, it's set at 24.5. No NFL team is choosing to draft a guy or not draft a guy based on whether it's 24 or 25 on the bench press reps. However, when the market is set at a certain place and you got a strength coach, you got the athlete themselves, whoever it is, who knows what they are able to do, if someone could get to that person, if there were a legitimate way for them to get that information and say, you know, if you landed 24 instead of 25, like, we could make it worth your while. Yeah. And again, is it always like that? Is it ever like that? No, but to the point you made, Matt, the handle on these things is so small that you have to ask risk versus reward.
Yeah.
Right? And even if the risk is super low, that someone could be influenced in the way that I just mentioned, which sounds like it's out of a movie, the reward of having the market available is still lower than that risk.
Yeah. And I'm going to use the L word that sports bettors absolutely hate, but I'm going to use it. Or just put limits. Like, it's very easy on all of this, right? If you want to look at it as a market that you're throwing out there just to have it available so people have some sort of little sweat if they're going to watch it on television, make the limit $100. And it's, you know what, for pros, if it's not worth your time, it's not worth your time. You don't have to bitch about it being, you know, $100 limit or whatever. Something like that. If it's not worth your time, it's not worth your time. But you just put a limit on it so low that no influence would matter anyway. Even if you got down $100 at 10 different books, you're still only maximizing it $1,000, right? So I mean, it's so. I know the L word is so taboo and everyone hates it so much in sports betting, but just put limits. If you put limits, then it's not a big deal.
I mean, if you talk to anybody who does this at the level that you're talking about, right, they're going to have 10, 20 beards that can get $100, that can get $500 down on something for them at any given time, right? They're going to churn through these people fairly quickly. If they get banned, okay, we'll move on to the next, right? Like, guys who do this for a living know how to get outs. It's not a complicated thing for them. It's challenging, but it's not complicated. And so if the market isn't offered legally, chances are somewhere it will be offered offshore, somewhere else where the people you're talking about who would complain about limits are going to be able to find this one way or the other. The idea, of course, for legal operators like a DraftKings or a FanDuel is that this is a time in the calendar in which there's really not much else to bet on. And if they're going to find a way to have something that says NFL under that tab that someone can bet on, then that marketing value is really worth a whole lot more to them than whatever money trades hands through betting on it.
No, absolutely. It's again something that we will continue to monitor, because this is not the end of this story for sure. There will be more to this one.